What's up, guys, and good morning. It is currently 4:50 on Thursday morning, and last night I performed in a stand-up comedy competition at the Improv in the Waterfront, and I completely spaced about putting the podcast out. So I woke up out of a dead-ass sleep this morning and had to run down and get this intro made, put in here, and toss it in the podcast and put the podcast out. But yeah, last night was fucking awesome. I went down to the Waterfront, and they have a comedy competition called the March Madness bracket, where there was 16 comedians last night. Each comedian went up against someone for 5 minutes, and the audience voted, and you already know your boy advanced. Everything went better than I could have ever hoped in my entire life, and all the support of all my friends who came out to see me do it for my very first time. I mean, I had no experience whatsoever. I went up there and I just fucking sent it, you know. You already know I killed it. Anyway, though, I very, very much appreciate everyone. But regardless, up next on this episode, I have a very, very special guest, one of my best friends. His name is Brandon Mattie, and he is also the other half of Official Waves. And earlier this week, you heard from Jack on Tuesday, and this week, or today on Thursday, you hear from Brandon, and they make up the duo Waves. Me and Brandon sat down and had a wonderful talk. Like, we went everywhere, and I really, really, really was happy with how everything turned out. Brandon is just like someone that's been in my life for 15 years, and he's always been someone to look up to and to what's the word? I don't know. He's always just been ahead of the game with everything, and I value our friendship, and I had a wonderful talk. So without further ado, up next we have Call You Right Back number 9.2 with Brandon Mattie.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. Okay, tell everyone who you are.
My name is Brandon Mattie. I'm an artist from Pittsburgh. I'm half of Waves.
Okay, so everyone that's listening right now will have already heard Jack, who was the left side of Waves. You could be the right.
Yeah.
You are. I asked Jack to define the group that you are. What genre would you say that you guys were?
I would say it's a foundation of pop and R&B.
Okay.
I would say that's a foundation, and then it just depends. I mean, we make all kinds of different genres from a club to...
That's a consistent answer. That's the exact same thing he said, so we're already starting off on a good start. So let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up?
Well, me and you go way back, for those who listening know that. I grew up in Elizabeth Township. I went to EF High School.
Elizabeth Forward, the infamous. Whenever you were younger, in Elizabeth, you've lived in Elizabeth your whole life?
Yeah. I mean, when I moved there, I think I was like 1.5.
Okay. So yeah, that counts. What was life growing up there? Like, obviously I know you. For the people that are listening, I mean, majority of them know that I know you, but you have a younger brother?
Yeah. Tyler. Yeah, I mean...
Is it a 4-year difference?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was life growing up for you guys? Like, what was, like, whenever you were younger, what kind of stuff did you do?
I mean, it was like a 90s baby. So, you know, like, it was ride your bike during the day, come home when the street lights came on, that type of thing. You know, the type whenever you're outside and mom yells out the window and then you come home.
Yeah. Typical type of, I don't know, you would see that in, that's the kind of shit you would see in cartoons. It's
Yeah.
like, be out when the street light comes on, you come home.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, it was just that. I mean, other than that, like indoor things was video games. I mean, I think the first thing we got was my uncle showed me Super Nintendo when I was real young, and then I fell in love with it from there. And then I think the first thing we got was Sega. But my brother, I don't even think he was born yet when I got that. And then when he came along, it was 64, and then that's whenever he started playing. And then it was just from there as they all went up. You know, the Dreamcast, the Xbox, the PlayStation.
So that was a big thing whenever you were younger, was video games?
Yeah. I mean, it was like a technology part that I didn't know I had yet.
Yeah. Now, like, did you guys play sports?
Yeah. The first sport I played, I want to say maybe 6. I played soccer, I think it was. I played it for like a year, and then I was over it. And
Soccer?
yeah, it was soccer. I think that was the first one that I did. And then T-ball was around that time. And then I played baseball for a majority of it. It was like baseball and basketball. And then they slowly faded out as I went higher. So I would say like, I don't know what age group, but I would say probably like football started middle school time. And those ones just cycled up, and then they slowly faded out, and I stuck with football.
So in middle school, you were majority like football?
I would say that was still doing. Yeah, I would say so, because that was like when there was like Tiny Mites and Mighty Mites and all those type of things.
But you basically played since you were younger.
Yeah, easily. Yep.
Now, besides for sports in middle school, what other kind of stuff were you into?
Skateboarding, snowboarding, and that's kind of where music started to come into play too as well. It was kind of mixture. It was kind of like I didn't really know one I was going to stick with. I just kind of did everything because I had the option to do everything.
How did music come into play whenever you were in middle school?
Well, it went from like playing the recorder like everybody did, and then when I hit middle school, I wanted to stick with music. And honestly, I don't even remember why I made the decision. I think because back then you had to do choir or you had to do band. I think you had to do
an
one
instrument
of the two.
or sing.
Yeah, I if I remember that, and I chose saxophone, and I don't know honestly why I chose it. It was just something that.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, it was just something that
That's
I
something
picked
that
up.
like not a lot of people play, I feel.
No, I actually tried to play one a year or two ago, and I couldn't. I literally
A
couldn't
saxophone
remember.
you tried to play?
I couldn't remember any of it
Jeez.
because I played it, and I did. I played it from 6th all the way to 7th, and then you couldn't play snare, I think, until like 8th grade. You weren't allowed, so that I was like all pumped for it. So then I switched from saxophone and I played snare drum, and then bass too.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was different, but like when you got older than that, you had to pick one.
Yeah. So in middle school, like what kind of music were you into?
I mean, really, it was back when, I don't even remember what the magazines were, but they were the magazines that you got and you ordered the CD. So my dad would like get them in the mail, and then for Christmas the one year I got a boombox. It was this plastic boombox, and then my dad would, every time he would order, he'd let me pick 2 CDs. And I remember going through like the magazine at first, and it was always like if it was parental advisory, it was a no-go. So
Weren't allowed to have no parental advisory.
not when I was young, no. But like the thing was, I would just kind of just talk to my dad and be like, yo, can I just do it? And then like, you're like, well, talk to mom. And then I would like somehow weasel be able to get it. But I remember when I got the Jay-Z CD and like Hard Knock Life was the single, it was like a big deal. And I like,
I remember
that,
whenever
like,
I
no
got
idea.
that too. That was I mean, it had to be different because like I had an older brother, so I had access to all that stuff way easier because like him being older, like he was allowed to allowed to listen to it. Like my parents weren't super strict about it, but it's like I don't know, like I never take into consideration like other people who are like the older child or an only child, like how do they get exposed to like cool shit. But so Jay-Z was like one of the first ones that you had.
I remember I ordered Jay-Z and I ordered Michael Jackson, the Thriller album.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Those were the 2 that I ordered, and I remember those came in.
This is like whenever you were like 7, 8.
I would
I can't
maybe.
even, I don't remember.
It's hard to say. I was definitely younger. I mean, I would say anywhere between 8 and 11, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's when. Yeah, I would say that around that
And
time.
like you were just, I mean, you've always like been into music, like listening to music.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, even even back whenever there was MP3 players, I literally carried that in like my CD Walkman. I literally carried it everywhere, and when I'd have a backpack, I made sure that it always had a CD holder.
Yeah.
Like, and it was constant. Like, if we would, my mom had her minivan at the time, and I didn't care what was on the radio. Like, I just put headphones in, and it was constantly, I would listen to something.
Now, so you, like, how did you choose Jay-Z? Like, who exposed you to, like, rap music? Like, how'd you start learning rap music and, like, the different genres? Like, was your dad into music?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was always into, like, that's, like, I wouldn't necessarily say, like, rap and, like, hip-hop style music. It was more like my cousins were, my older cousins that would kind of listen to that. And then I would just hear it. Like, I'd be at family events where they'd watch us, and I'd be like, oh, this is good. And then
so, like, you would
it just kind of gradually went from there, because there wasn't the internet. There wasn't any of that stuff.
I remember whenever my cousin Michelle got, she had the Tupac CD, All Eyes on Me, and I remember I came downstairs and I was looking at it, and I was at my grandma's house, and she was like, you can't listen to this, they swear.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. But like, ever since I was young, like, all my older siblings, like, always had, like, all, like, the good stuff, or, like, siblings and, like, cousins, they always had, like, all that music. Like, I remember my cousin John, like, I remember he had, like, a Prodigy CD, like, back in the day, like, a long time ago, and it was just, like, I remember it vividly, like, listening that with him. Like, my brother had, like, different, like, he had, like, The Firm, and he had, like No Limit Soldier CD, like, all that stuff. So, you used to get these CDs and everything like that. How did you get turned on to skateboarding?
So I would say it was 4th grade. I got my aunt for Christmas got me. It was a Nash skateboard. It was plastic trucks, all that stuff. It wasn't anything that you could really, really ride on. So I remember getting it for Christmas, and I was pumped about it, and I wanted one. I don't remember why I wanted one though. I just remember having that feeling that that's what I asked for.
You asked for the skateboard? It wasn't just something.
Yeah, I'm like 99% that I did ask for that skateboard. It just was in my neighborhood, like where we grew up, everything you did outside. Like, it was always you get up and you either played wiffle ball or like rundown, whatever you may play. But then people would ride bikes, so they would skate. So whatever, like, the neighborhood was doing, like, and there was a lot of older kids in my neighborhood. So, like, of course, just being a little kid, you're kind of like, I want to do what the cool kids are doing. So I guess, like, for that is kind of what got me into doing, like, any outdoor activity like that.
Yeah.
Of that.
So you hung around a lot of older kids?
At least in my neighborhood, we called it, like, the stop signs. So when you got to the end of my street, it was a stop sign. There was a second stop sign and a third stop sign that went around a cul-de-sac. So as I got older, I was able to go to another stop sign. So whenever I finally got, like, the third stop sign, go ahead.
Started meeting new people.
Exactly. So, like, most of it was, like, BMX. I would say there was, like, skateboarding. I would say I was probably, like, the only one, maybe another person that really stuck with it. A lot of the kids went into BMX. Yeah. But they rode. And I did the BMX thing. You know what I mean? Like, most kids did. You try at least everything. Phases. Yeah. And skateboarding is what stuck to me. But it really didn't stick until I 100% went into that. I would probably, like, into middle school, like 7th grade is when I went, like, full go ahead with skating.
Now, how did you... obviously, I know you very well, so, like, I know that like, even, like, the underground shit of skateboarding. So, like, how did you progress your knowledge of, like, skating and, like, video games and, like, music?
To start with skateboarding, I would say it really, whenever I was younger in 5th and 6th, Century 3 Mall, there was the Edge, and that was, like, a skate shop, and then there was, like, cheap skates, and those were, like, to me, you were pumped to go to these things. And it was like, if we would go and they'd have a park or like a mini ramp, over time they added these things. So when I met more kids, it was VHS tapes is how you did it. So really, it would be like whatever the decks are out, I would look in like CCS magazine, and then I would see like some of the decks. I'd be like, oh, who's this? And it'd be like, they ride for whatever. Yeah. And so it would just be like buying a VHS tape if I would go. Or most of it, a lot of times, would be like the kids that I met skating. Yeah. I would say that's really where like a lot of my stuff kicked in. It was more the community that taught me versus going and looking for it, because you couldn't do that then. Like, it was either you subscribed to a magazine.
Yeah,
or
that's
bought
what
a
I mean.
tape.
Like, there was no like internet back then, so it's just like, how do people? It's like, I find it curious. Like, how do people like get into shit?
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean, that really, for me, skateboarding, it took off. I remember I walked in the 7th grade homeroom, and my buddy Zach had a pair of iPass on. So people that skate, you get it, what iPass are.
oh yeah,
Yeah, so I had a pair of them on, and they only had the black, solid black out, and I wore them, and that was like my school shoe that I chose. I remember the first thing like Zach said to me was, "Oh, you know what iPass are?" Because he had them on too, and instantly from there, that was like a first bond of skating.
Is this Krivnak?
Yeah, Krivnak. Yeah, so Krivnak.
Jeez.
Yeah, so in 7th grade.
When was this? 7th grade.
Yeah, he said he came up to me with my iPass, and then we became friends instantly from there.
Yeah.
And that was like, I mean, God, that was like when tight jeans weren't cool, and then you had like
Yeah.
a yellow or pink belt on, and then it was like America and like all that stuff that you would rock.
Yeah.
And yeah, it started from there, and then Zach was like, "You got to come to my house. I got like all this setup and stuff like that." And the funny part, it was like a railroad tie with wax on it, and that was like, we just would like board slide it all day long.
Oh yeah.
And my dad, I kept begging him to take me over, and I remember the first time trying to get a hold of Zach, he called the house phone. People didn't have cell phones,
Yeah, that was such a wild time in life.
Yep.
Like, call a house phone.
and there was no area code beforehand.
Yeah.
So you just dialed it, and I remember I would call, and no one answered, and I was like, "This kid's gonna flake me. Like, what's
Yeah.
the deal?" And then finally he answered, like, "Oh, they're outside, like playing." It was like his mom, or I don't remember who answered, but they were like, "Yeah, it's outside." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So my dad just literally took me and dropped me off, and then that's when I met like, Riker and
Yeah.
Evan and all those
All these
guys.
other kids that
Yeah,
like
all
that
these
we
other
know
guys.
that like were part of the whole like skateboarding crew.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where that, and then from there it was just like, I mean, they're just like childhood friends that, you know what I mean?
Skateboarding is such like I was never ever good at skateboarding, but I've been into it since like probably 2nd grade, and like 3rd grade I remember like just going to cheap skates and like buying shoes, and like I remember no, it wasn't cheapskates. My first pair of shoes were some Airwalks, but I can't remember where they were from. It might have been, yeah, it was a cheapskates whenever it was the batting cages were
Yep.
attached to it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that
when they
was a
had the
long
skate
time
park
ago.
there. Yeah,
I remember I always wanted
you went through the batting stuff.
yeah,
and
you
then it
went
was in the
through
back
all the
corner.
batting shit, and it was
Yeah.
in the back there. But skateboarding was like, it opened you up to so much other shit. It opened you up to like different style of like clothing. It opened you up to like fashion, and like I remember watching old skate videos and like hearing all the different music that's in there.
Yeah.
And like being in middle school and shit like that, if you liked it at all, you would get the Tony Hawk games for
Yep.
like N64. And I remember like Goldfinger, like Superman, all them songs and everything like that. And that's like whenever like you get to the age where you could start like branching off and like learning about things that you enjoy. Like you start
Yeah.
to decide what you like and what you don't
Yeah,
like.
I think that was kind of like brought into like other things we'll get into later, I'm sure, but like just my creative side of like all that stuff, because skating always had like the cool characters or like the
Yeah.
cool designs, and it was just, I feel like even today skateboarding still is way ahead of its time. Like, you know what I mean? Look at things like Supreme and all these other things, like they're skateboarding companies.
Yeah.
Like that's the end of it.
Yeah,
Like,
but like Supreme, the biggest, Jesus, probably the biggest. I mean, streetwear brand. Would you call it streetwear? Probably.
I mean, you might as well. I
Yeah.
mean, at the end of the day, like skateboarding is.
It's probably one of the most hyped brands of all time right now.
Yeah.
And it's been around since what, the late 80s, early 90s?
I mean, early 90s, I mean, it was literally just a local skate shop, just like anything else, you know?
Yeah,
then
and
it
it's
went from
just
there.
like, and look at it now. It's like rappers, like honestly, every single type of person wears it, and like you said, it just boils down to being a skateboard brand.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, you literally look, if you look at skateboarding, it's, look at tight jeans. Tight jeans are the thing now.
Yeah.
You know, like that's where it is. Like tighter fitting clothes in general is that, you know, and just all those things. Like half of the designs you can say, I mean, and still you implement today. Like Pharrell's a huge one that still implements skateboarding. You can just tell.
Yeah.
Like, skateboard P, like it's just, that's where it came from.
And it's interesting because, like, I mean, now that I'm sitting here, like, thinking about it and, like, saying it, it's like in middle school, there's, like, groups, there's, like, types of kids. There's, like, the kids who play sports. There's the kids who are good at school, there's the kids who are like the outcasts, and there's like, I don't know if you want to call them nerds or whatever, but it's
Back
like
then you could probably say that.
yeah. Back then you could probably say like nerds and shit like that, but it's like if you didn't play sports or anything, you were kind of like an outcast.
Yeah.
And like usually like the skateboarders, I mean, if you skated, you like probably didn't play too many sports because like, I mean, if you want to fit like a stereotype of what it is, it's like rare you would find that like kid who was a skateboarder that like played sports, but like usually they just skated and like did what they did over in in that realm.
I would remember going to like whenever I played like football, I remember in middle school, like we'd get out, I don't even know what, 3:30, something like that. I remember that I would ride like my friend's bus home and we would skate until like 5:30 and I'd have to get picked up for practice. And I used to get so mad. I'd be like, oh, I just don't want to go.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and I always left like until it got to a point to where, you know, it just kind of, I don't know, you make the choice, you know?
Yeah. What you would rather do.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, you were in a video game. So obviously like Tony Hawk came out and it's just like, that was such an epic time.
Yeah.
Like I remember like the weekends were just like playing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I remember for Christmas I got an N64 with a Tony Hawk game, and it was just like so epic because like my friends in middle school growing up, they were just like the skateboarder kids. Like I always gravitated, like I was always like friends with like everyone. Like I got along with people, but I always gravitated towards like the kids who skateboarded because like I was always like fascinated by it. Like I always loved like the fashion end of it. Like probably whenever I first started like getting into fashion like on my own without like my brother's influence was like my buddy Jake Whiteman had like some teal Dickies with a birdhouse shirt with like a bird on it, and it matched. And I just remember thinking like all these clothes that he has are like so sick, like the Black Label clothes,
Yeah.
like the hookups, and like it's just like I always favored like those type of like designs
That's
and
how I am.
logos and things like that, like the cool characters.
Yeah.
So it was just such like an easy thing for me to like kind of involve myself in. But I was always like I always played sports growing up as well.
Yeah, it was always like a mixture of that. And I mean, even all that, like it got to a point to where like daytime I did activities and then nighttime is like when video games kicked in.
Yeah.
Like that's how it was for me. And same, like I remember my grandpa got me Nintendo 64 for Christmas. I don't remember how old I was at the time, but it was that and it was GoldenEye.
Yeah,
and
GoldenEye.
I literally went home and I did not stop playing.
Yeah, you find the secret tapes, collect skate,
Yep.
like do the longest grinds, and it's just like you just be up all night playing this shit. And it's like if you were a fan of skateboarding at all, it's just like that was just, I mean, like I was never good at skateboarding ever, so like that game I would just always play it because like got to make your own character, you got to make it look exactly how you want,
that
and
was
I would
always the
design
best.
my character the exact same in every game. It would have a baseball tee on, like a 3/4 tee with some jeans and some like black shoes, and it's just like I just remember I was always a fan of it, so like I always would like gravitate towards that. And like CCS, like
That was huge.
yeah, it was huge. Like you would get this magazine in the mail, and you'd be able to like pretty much just like see all different types of like clothes and things like that.
Yep.
And it was just like, I don't know, I guess now that I think about it, like that's a good reason like why I kind of do the shit that I do today. It's like,
Yeah, it's 100%. It 100% paved the path of like who I am, what I like, and just
yeah,
everything about me. I'm sure if I really broke down each piece of things I'm into or do, I guarantee you I can tie it back to skateboarding.
yeah. And it's like I said, it's like rare to find someone who like skated and things like that who also did like the sports end of it.
Yeah.
Because like those worlds open you up to different things.
Yeah.
It's like the football world and everything like that. It's like you were always like pretty heavily involved with that just because like your dad was like a fucking goat at South Allegheny.
Yeah, he was.
So it's just like, I don't know. In those worlds, you hear a different type of music because like it exposes you to different like people, and it's like back in the day in middle school, I remember thinking like all the different video games that I played, you would hear different music, and
Yeah.
like that would be like a way to open you up. Like if you played like a Madden game or something like
Yep.
that, or a football game, it was always like rap, and like it kind of opened you up to some sort of rap like that. And if you're playing Tony Hawk and shit like that, it's like some sort of like rock.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I think too, when you really break it down, like now that I'm like thinking about this, because I couldn't tell you last time I sat down and broke it down, but
Yeah, right.
if you break it down, like with sports, in specifically since football is more my main thing, you could say throughout my whole life, you learn like teamwork and you learn discipline and you just learn all of those type of thing, and there's a wisdom in that. But like skateboarding, there was no rules, but the difference was you did things as like a team, you know, like
Yeah.
it was the one friend got the camera first, and then it was like, oh, well, who can edit? And then
Yeah.
it's like, let's edit. So you use those things, but just in different aspects, and you learn them through like individuals versus like having like a rule set. Like it's a team, but like you learn that just from the people
Yeah,
around
it's like
you.
playing organized sports. Like you learn how to like work with other people and do things like that, and you learn how to like work together as a team. But like you said before, skateboarding like offers you some sort of like creative outlet.
Yeah.
Like it's you yourself, and like you got your other friends, and like you got your group of friends that always like hype everyone up, and it's like your best friends like want you to do the tricks. Like I remember another kid that I was just such good friends with. His mom worked at Playmore Bowling over in West Mifflin, and like she worked at the bar, so we would go Cosmic Bowling Friday and Saturday night, but we would just stand outside and skate down the wheelchair ramp.
Yep.
And like I was always just like a real big bitch and like afraid to fall.
I
So
think
like I
everybody
would never
was.
try to do anything.
Yeah.
But like I always like appreciated like hyping up. Like I was just a hype man pretty
Yeah.
much. It's like I would buy the shit, and like I would try my best, but it just never worked.
It was different though back then, because like there was hype, but it's not like hype you see today. It was just like, that's my favorite skater because he was the best and everybody liked him. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't really think of, you know what I mean, you could say in sports nowadays, but there's a lot of people's favorite athlete or like,
Yeah.
so it's, I think back then it was just different in all levels of it, you know, like it definitely, as much as it like grew me individually, I couldn't tell you how many times that like, I even remember Zach has, and still, I'm pretty sure he still has it, but we used to get disorderly conducts all the time because we would grind on like whatever it would be, and
Yeah.
the cops would like nail us anytime they could. And I remember like our moms would like go down to whatever you want to call it, the community meetings, and
Yeah.
flip out because we had nowhere to go and like stuff like that. But Zach actually has one framed that like from when we were younger.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
pretty
wild.
cool. Yeah, but that was like, you know what I mean, we definitely got in trouble with it at times, but
So
it was
like
fun.
being involved in skating and things like that, like back then you didn't like do any sort of like music, right? Like besides for playing like the saxophone, that kind of phased out and everything.
No.
Your musical creative side was like you were always the one that like kind of exposed everyone to the new artists and everything.
Yeah,
Like,
I
once
was
the
kinda
internet
like that.
hit and everything like that, it's like I remember you were the one that like, I mean, you're pretty much still the originator of like where all the new shit comes from as far as like
Try to
music
be.
and everything. Yeah, it's like you can obviously tell you're passionate about it and you like dig deep in it.
Yeah.
So like skating and music and things like that, would you say that was like pretty much getting into like high school and things like that?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I was similar to you because I was friends with everybody. I feel like from whatever it may be, because you know, like I even rode dirt bikes with people, or
Yeah.
like, you know, so like it was just anything of that sort. Like I always had a friend. I felt like if somebody did something other than what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
I wanted to try it. And it was this: if I liked it, I liked it. If I could do it, I could do it. If I couldn't, it was just whatever. I still enjoyed.
Yeah, I
like,
always wanted to be like
being
a part
around
of it and be
yeah.
like
I would say that. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like going into like high school and stuff, it was.
So like when did you start like being like conscious of like what you were wearing and kind of like developing like your style that you kind of like grew into? Because like I feel like high school is like, I mean, you have a style in high school for sure. Like everyone has a certain style in high school, whether it changes in high school or not. It's like you start off having a style and it kind of sticks to those roots. Sometimes it'll change or not, but like you hung around the same friends from middle school and everything like that.
I would say like like yes and no in a way. So whenever like 7th grade, if we kick it back to like when I had iPass on, and I would skate like 7th, 8th. When I got into 9th grade, 9th grade was funny because me and like some of my friends, we got into like heavy, I wouldn't say like heavy metal, but like almost, I don't even know if it's considered black metal now, but like Cradle of Filth type stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like we were into that. We'd always try to like persuade our moms to go to the concert. I can't remember who went, but I just remember I wasn't allowed, so I couldn't go.
Yeah.
But we were almost kind of like, I don't want to say that's like goth, but like it was just that type of like wear is what I did in 9th grade.
Yeah.
But then I mean, when it came to that stuff, I guess you can say weird with some things because I literally just woke up one day and I was like, I don't want to wear this anymore.
Yeah.
And I just stopped.
It's weird, like, growing up. It's like you go through, like, different phases through middle school. It's like, I remember, like, the certain types of things I wanted to wear. Like, I had, like, I remember being real young. Like, I was always into, like, the Jordans, like, the Nike type shit, like, the Adidas pants and, like, shell toes and things like that. And I remember in, like, 3rd to 4th grade is whenever I, like, kind of switched from that type of style to, like, the Janko jeans.
Yeah, like that was like
that.
how it was for me. Like in, I guess, and like 5th grade, 6th, I guess 5th grade. Because I remember like walking into middle school. Now that I think of it, I had the etnies with the like the downwards E.
Yeah,
that came like those.
It looked like bowling shoes.
Yeah, those, and then like the D3s. Like,
oh yeah,
those were like my thing, and it's crazy because then it went from there, and then I'm trying to think of just like walking in the hallway, like what grade that was in, but then it would be a point where like I was rocking South Pole and I would have like my belt that was like for a size 40 waist and like the edge of it would just hang to my ankles.
Yeah,
like it went from that to tight jeans.
Yeah, so like what was your inspiration? Like what made you switch style? Was it just like, because like if you think about it, like I obviously, it's hard for me to do to do an interview with you because like I've known you for like 15 years, so like
yeah.
I know exactly like how your style was, and you've always like been ahead of the game with as far as like music, as far as like clothing. It's like I remember you were the first person I ever seen wearing like ice creams,
Yeah.
and it's like how did you get exposed to all this stuff?
To be honest, when I sit and think about it, some of it's like I don't even some of it I would say draws a blank. Like, to be honest, like there was times to where I would see,
'cause obviously like ice creams or skate shoe.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so like I mean, I guess it all like stems around like skateboarding, right?
Yeah, I mean that's where I honestly think I bought ice creams because I seen them. I think I seen them in a skate shop or something similar like that. It was like before like PacSun and all that was huge. It was similar like of a store like that. I remember seeing them and they were the black and orange ones. And after that,
with the blue stripe.
Yeah. So I seen them, and at that time, I was in high school at that time. I was in 9th grade.
Yeah.
So I would have said I seen those. I don't even know if the ice cream video was out, the skate video yet, if that was even out yet. But I was really into Terry Kennedy.
Yeah.
Like he was a skater that always was on like the ice creams and that's like
yeah, like he
just
was
that style.
Yeah, like he had like a, what would you even call it? Like a hypey, not even hypey because it wasn't hyped back then.
No, it was
like the
streetwear
originals,
what it is
but
today.
yeah,
but
streetwear
just
exactly.
Back, it was streetwear.
That's
but
a perfect way to describe it. Like before, it was like hyped. Like that was just streetwear, and that was just like a skateboard. I'll go back to it again. Like I feel like so much of fashion and everything comes from skateboarding.
It does, 100%.
Yeah, especially like the streetwear end of it. It's just like the graphics, things like that.
That's what I agree. I mean, I think ice creams. I think actually one of the things was that popped off to me is Pharrell had like a huge chain of that, and actually now that I think of it, I got into those because I had seen. When Bape was around then, I had seen like the Bape hoodie that had the money signs and the diamonds all over it.
Oh, like a whole pattern.
All over it. Yeah, it was all over
I
pattern.
do remember that.
And I was obsessed.
Was that from Soulja Boy?
Well, Soulja Boy like wore it, but it was I didn't find him yet. I don't even know
For the
where
record,
I seen that.
Mattie was the first person to bring Soulja Boy to Elizabeth Forward. Like I said, like it's just weird because like you honestly you exposed like a lot of people in our friend group to like a lot of shit. So music, things like that. And it's just interesting because like you've always seemed to be like the one to like find it all. And it's just like, it's interesting because you're the oldest out of the family. So like you got to dig yourself and you got to find it yourself. So like it had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, that was just it.
Like,
and it just grew and grew. And I just remember looking for all of them. And then it was just a lot of it you would see in skate videos too, because they would go all over the world. And it's just like, wait, what is that? And I remember I seen Pharrell in, like, with that chain with the main ice cream logo, and I was obsessed with it. And then I seen he went to one of the Bape stores in Japan, and it was like when BBC and all this stuff like was like coming up, like when it was like crazy expensive. Like
BBC is Billionaire Boys.
Yeah, so like any of that stuff and ice cream, it was expensive. Like t-shirts were like $150. Like it wasn't now where you can get them at like Jimmy Jazz or anywhere else like that. And it just doesn't. The quality was just a big difference then. So I could never get any of it.
It was very limited and exclusive.
Yeah. So I just would try to find the knockoff.
It wasn't
ones.
corporate. It wasn't like a corporate chain yet. Pretty much.
I mean, I'm
not necessarily saying it is now, but like it was definitely way more exclusive
quality
than
was
it
like
was.
Different.
Yeah, and I mean, so. I mean, like you always had a broad taste in music. It's like you were listening to rap music, you were listening to like rock music. Like,
I mean, that was how it always was for me. From anything, like I still, even if we went to my mom's house and pulled out all the CDs I still have like Mo Money, Mo Problems. I have the single paperback of the disc with like Biggie on it, and then I have like. I have like Montel Jordan single, and like I have literally such a widespread. It was just like country music is the only stuff I never got into, but everything else was just. I had the Space Jam soundtrack, like from Jay-Z. Then I had Tupac, and then Ja Rule. Like I just was so open to music that I just listened. I could say that everybody had their CD like Walkman. Yeah. Or Sony, whatever one you had, and then you always had your case of CDs that you carried with you.
Yeah, same with me.
I literally had to have a backpack because I think mine was 100 plus. And if I was able to like, I would always kind of go on like, you could say like shopping trips. You know, like nowadays you'll go and they'll be like, oh, can I grab like this? Can I get my one thing at the store?
Yeah.
Back then things weren't expensive as they are now. So when I would go to like, I guess it was Best Buy or FYE at the time.
Camelot.
Like yeah, like all those like Camelot. What was the other one? I was like red and like black lettering Suncoast.
Oh, Suncoast, yeah.
Anytime I would go to those things, I would try to weasel to get a CD. But what would happen is when I would go into like, I would just choose a section. It depended on what I listened to at the time. So like with rap, I would literally just go through everyone, and if I looked at it, I'd be like, I would walk over and I'd scan it on the sample list.
Yeah, I forgot about those.
So I would sample, and I would sample them.
Oh, that's
and I would
crazy.
Sit and listen, and I would just, if I was like, oh, I like this, then I would choose it. And some of the artists, I couldn't even. Some of the tapes, honestly, I think the artist may have put one album out and it just never did anything. Like some of them were so random to the point. Like I always went and got the Hot Boys and Juvenile and all those. Like I was a widespread of music.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like even now, like we listen to the all different shit.
Yeah,
it's like acoustic
100%.
music, hardcore music, like trap music. It's like we listen to it all, and it's So, I mean, in high school and everything like that, you didn't do any sort of music. It's like your whole...
No, I literally did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so like your creative side of like music and everything like that was, I mean, you just were always on all the new shit. It's like you had a big music library. Like I just remember you had all sorts of shit. You would always just be playing shit. You had a system. And it's just
that was like a big... That was always... I mean, in high school, you could say like after like 9th grade when I hit into... I mean, literally in high school, from when I started in freshman to senior, I was preppy. I was like wearing the full Tim suit, and then I was I had ice creams, and I had tight jeans, and then I was rocking like Cradle Fills. Like I literally jumped all categories, 100%, which most people may not do, but I did it to like full on. Like it was like I don't want to do this. I literally would take clothes, go in the attic, and then I was like preppy for
it's like you feel out. Yeah, you feel out like what you like. I mean, like it's just nuts because like we're young. We don't know what the hell we want. It's like we're not even sure of anything yet.
Yeah, and you don't even know. Like, and that's the crazy part. And the coolest thing to me is, even though I jumped, I guess you could say, whatever groups in high school, I was still friends with everybody.
Yeah.
So that was always like that was my thing. I was always still friends with everyone. I remember even sophomore year, I had like history class with some of my friends that skated, and they're like, why don't you come out and skate with us? And I was like, all right. Literally, I stepped back on the board because I stopped like after 9th grade. I didn't skate from like 9th to like close to 11th. I didn't skate.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Yeah, I stepped on the board and I just remember like, why did I even stop doing this? And I just kind of got caught up in like, I guess you could say the popularity thing and all that type of thing. I was just, like, cause in high school back then too, I feel it was like a lot different because you didn't have like internet bullying. It was like, it's just you wanted to.
Yeah, and people didn't have cell phones. Like,
nah.
I mean, that was like very rare. Like rare, you would see someone with a cell phone. Whenever I was in 9th grade.
Oh my god, yeah, I don't even think I seen one until like junior year.
Because like I didn't get one until I was a junior. I didn't get one until I was a junior, and it's just like it was just such a different world we were living in because like you would go to school, you would come home, get on AIM. Get on MySpace, and that was like during the week. The week was you come home, get on the computer, and do that. That's how you talk to your friends. That's how you do that because like even like Xbox Live and shit wasn't like a thing.
No.
So like people weren't talking over video games. It was just like communicating over the internet. And like you said, there was like no internet bullying or there was no trolls. There was no
you had like your little MySpace comments, but it would just be like,
yeah.
Oh my god, like you open like you choose a layout that had like someone with a skateboard or someone like
and like
or girls would put something like it'd be crazy.
Yeah, like that was as crazy as it was like MySpace bulletins and shit like that. But like it was such a different world because like you said, we were calling people's like house to try to talk to them, and it wasn't like as easy as it is now. It's like every single person has a cell phone.
Yeah.
And it's like no one knows what like I don't know, it's just a wild world that we're living in. But like in high school, like you said, you're friends with like all these different people. It's like that's kind of like how I was. Like I was friends with like popular kids. I was friends with like the jock kids. I was friends with like the weird kids, if you want to call it that. And it's just like, I mean, like I don't know, if I liked you, I liked you. And
yeah, that's kind of how it was. I wouldn't say like I never got along with like anybody. It was just like if you didn't fuck with me, I didn't fuck with you type thing. Like, that's how it was for me. And I was never the one to be like, yeah, bro, let's fight. Like, sound like I never gave a shit. Like, I just kind of did my thing. And I feel like
being that type of person, like you're just opened up to like new things. Like if you're friends with like 5 different groups of people that are like, let's say like the preps, the jocks, the skaters, the weird kids, like every single one of them people like are going to like their own shit. So like they're going to open you up to other things. So like obviously you were friends with a bunch of skateboarders. Okay. The skateboarders, I mean, I guess you could call them like the outcasts, like for the most part. But like, I mean, everyone opens other people up to other shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because even if you talk to people like nowadays or even back a couple years ago, like it was funny, like, oh, I love Jackass. I love the movies.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're crazy because I watched CKY when I was in middle school and we were taking like, you know what I mean? Like someone would be taking a shit off a building and like our friends would go do that. Or we would like film each other like puking and like we did fucked up stuff like that. Like, all the time. You know what I mean? And it was just, I mean, whatever it may be, like going and like paying like a bum $1 so we could ollie over them. You know what I mean? Like we did all kinds of stuff like that. And it would be funny because you moved into high school and like Jackass came popular and they're like, oh, this is so cool. And it's like, yeah, but you made fun of me back like in middle school and I had that. And it's just, that's the best part about it. Because it comes into nowadays. I'm not one that's like big-headed and say stuff a lot out loud, but it's funny when you see people that wear like tight jeans. I'm like, I remember when I was made fun of that in middle school, but now like it's the cool thing to do.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
Funny.
I mean, it's just like it's just weird with how things like progress and like how I mean, like obviously, like every year everything is different. Like as far as like music, as far as like fashion, as far as like anything, the style always is progressing and changing, and it's wild to see like what people were on like back in the day and like got ridiculed for and like how it is now, because like you said, like tight jeans is a perfect example. Like I remember like just because like I was friends with a lot of the skateboarder kids. Obviously I was a fat kid, so like I couldn't wear tight jeans, but like all my friends always wore tight jeans, and I remember everyone getting made fun of for it, like you, Brian, fucking Nazo, all them. Like it's just like it was such like a the skateboarder kids like always had like the new and like I guess you would call it like weird style because like you would have the shoelace and the belt.
Yeah, because the colors were always crazy. It wasn't like something you wore from I don't even know what brands you could say back then, but it wasn't
like Abercrombie and Aeropostale. Like all them clothes were like if you were like a preppy type kid, you shopped at Aeropostale, you shopped at Abercrombie and Hollister. Like that was it. Or you wore like Dick's stuff where it was like Nike, like Adidas, athletic wear and shit like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that because you had like the preppy kids had all that stuff from. I mean, you had the bright color polos, but then you'd wear a neutral color hoodie. Like that was like you're going out. It was like just a plain like gray or black, and that was it.
Yeah, or like a dark blue.
Exactly. And then like skating shoes back then were
bright ass colors.
Yeah, they were
like
bright,
very loud.
Yeah,
and it's like the skateboard like fashion was just like loud. Like enjoy. Like I remember it was a dark brown shirt with like rainbow letters, and it's like things like that. They were always just like I think like whenever someone chose to like become like a fan of skateboarding and things like that, what comes along with that is like I mean like you put like a stamp on your back pretty much. It's because like if you like the type of clothes that they were, like I remember them DCs, like I never owned a pair back then. I always wanted them, but like those were the most obnoxious shoes ever.
Yeah. And
like I didn't know Zach back then, but he had them D3s, and it's just like I was immediately in love with them shoes.
Yeah.
And it's just like those type of things, like every single thing about like the skateboarding fashion like just stood out.
Yeah.
It was just like color wise, like the graphics, everything. It was just way different.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It was just different. I mean, it was like you said, it was just different. It's still here today, but it's just it's more mature.
Yeah, it's definitely more mature and like more. More developed as far as like how fashion is developed now. I mean, like no one really wears baggy pants at all anymore. Mm-mm. It's almost like the norm now is like tapered leg, like tight jeans, things like that. And it's interesting to see that because like people used to get roasted alive in school. Yeah,
now like you see your shoes. Like back then, it was like you wore shorts to see your shoes, or like your pants covered your shoes. Like that was it.
I cannot believe I ever in my 7th grade year going into school. So I moved to Elizabeth in 6th grade. 7th grade, I remember thinking like, oh, I have some friends now. Like gonna go to school. Like I'm gonna pick this out. And that year, my first day of school, I wore some Janko jeans with a dragon and dice on the back right pocket, and I had a shirt that matched that was navy blue, and it had like a gray color scheme design. And the shoes that I had were some Audios that were black with a red audio symbol on it.
About audio.
And it's just like, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I definitely, if I would put some of my outfits on, I would definitely say like
ridiculous.
Like, are you for real?
So as far as like being in high school, I mean, I'd say that we had a typical like we played sports. We always hung out and did like the whole like you always had that mini ramp. Like you were always
that was the best.
Yeah. So it was always. It's just weird though because now you're in this like pop R&B group with Jack, and like, I mean, growing up, you never did music. So like in high school and things like that, when did your whole like how did you come about making the decision of doing music?
I don't think it came down to making a decision. I think it just became something that I don't know if you want to say like destined to do, but like it just felt right. So like for me, whenever like I graduated, I was into like at that time, I mean, all genres of music like I was.
Yeah.
But it was whenever I don't to say who I met, it was probably Skagline. Whenever they had the band.
Yeah.
So whenever they had the band, I remember seeing like the covers and stuff they would put on, and at the time my mom still had the minivan and I drove. None of them drove.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was I would literally pack their equipment in my mom's minivan and I would drive them to shows. So I started driving the shows, and I think I was 18/19 at the time. And I would drive them to shows, and I was like, in a way, it was always like you're the manager type thing. But as a local band, like you feel like, you're playing these shows and selling tickets. It's like, just like everyone has, like you're like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be this big thing, right?
Yeah, but it's...
So, yeah, and it just, and you have that thing. So I started driving them around, and it ended up happening. Like, it was basically decisions. They were like, yo, we're making some changes to the band, da 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 da. So they were like, we need somebody to play bass. So I was like, okay. I was like, I've never played bass in my life. I played very simple things. Like I basically just followed the guitar, like, and that was it. And it was a simple bass line. So I just started playing, and they're like, yeah, that'll work, you know. And back then, I guess I didn't really have a knowledge of like a band, and you could say it was more metal at the time. But just like everybody had, you know, you had like at that time there was like From First to Last, there was, all kinds of.
Under Oath, like Under Oath, Hawthorne Heights.
Yeah, there was
Hawthorne Heights was like the first screen. I remember watching it, and that was like the first like real like emo screaming.
Yeah, like all that genre of emo and stuff. That's when that came about, and I don't know. I played.
That was such a powerful like whole. I mean,
it still is.
Days.
I still listen to that music.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like that whole time of our lives where it was just like go to school, come home, hang out with everyone together. That weekend, go to a show. And it's just like, it was such a powerful like scene to be in, like the MySpace days, like all that whole like feel of everything. It was just crazy. And it's just like, I don't know. It was just
that
like,
is all it was. I mean, because really there were so many venues that were like a hole in the wall, or like just something
Octane,
that was decent. Yeah, all those
Subculture.
Things. Like that was the thing. Like you look forward to like the show, and it was like, okay, who's opening? Yeah. And then you kind of had this little group of like the local bands that started to make like a little bit of noise, and they're like, okay, they're gonna open, you know,
like Jaded Holly and stuff like that.
Yeah, all that stuff. So you would meet them, and I kind of knew the guys, but you know what I mean, of the bands like prior to just showing up.
Yeah,
and I just remember like literally playing in the band, and then it just started. We did the show thing.
Progressed from there.
Yeah, it progressed from there, and then we played shows, and then like as like those bands changed, you know, and this is when like autotune and stuff became popular in that style of music and really started to take toll, you know, of the music industry. And I remember they were like, we want to sing, and I remember being in the car with Denner, and we were coming up a hill, and it was I set my friends on fire, and it was oh my god, I cannot
Things That Rhyme with Orange.
Yep. And I remember singing this song, and I was like, I think I sound all right. Like everybody says that though, and in reality, it was sound like shit.
Yeah.
But I remember doing that, and I think I even sang it for dinner. Or someone in the car was like, I think I'm gonna show the band and the guys that like maybe I'll sing, and it was just something along those lines where like everybody tried to sing.
Yeah, and it's just whoever was like the best at it. Like,
so we did that, and I remember we recorded at a house, and I literally was in a box closet like under steps. And I sang, and it took me, I think if you actually took the lyrics and the time of how long I sang.
Was that very tight recordings?
Yep.
Oh,
I did it.
Matt Very?
Yeah. Well, Matt Very. And I honestly would say that I was in that room for that box for 2.5 hours. And I
remember the video that
we did.
being that you had to like crawl back behind something.
We were back in there, and I would say that I literally sang, my part was maybe 10 seconds of singing. It took me like 2.5 hours to do it.
I bet.
And it was different because that was my first time. Like we would practice, but like when you're practicing in a small room in your friend's like mom's house, it's different. Like it just, you know, it may sound good when you're doing it.
Especially if you've never had any experience in it at all. It's like literally the first time you're like...
and I never heard myself. So that was the first time I heard myself. I was like, oh my God. Like seriously. So, you know, anyway, in a way, it was like, I was kind of like taken back. I was like, man, dude, this don't sound good. And, you know, and like I just did it over and over. And then eventually it got to the point where it did. And then we kind of progressed more to singing. And, you know, and at the time it was a lot. I didn't really have an understanding of like music theory with that stuff. You know, like I would just go and we recorded it.
For anyone that's listening to this, if you've been following with the podcast, the first episode was with Zach Pishney. Zach Pishney, who is now in like Moths to Flames. Zach was also in the same band that Brandon is talking about.
Yeah.
Murder at the Matinee that progressed into Eyes Have Seen the Glory. Yeah. And it was like a, what genre would you call that?
It literally went from metal to...
metal, hardcore. I don't know what the fuck it's called, but like it was there was screaming involved with it, some singing. Yeah. And it was just like part of the scene that we were submersed in.
Yeah, that's all it was. And
every single one of us, every single one of the friends that we're still like we're all still friends. It's just like that whole scene, it's so hard to describe what it was. It's just like if you were part of it, you knew what it was. You were part of the shows. You were part of like the MySpace. You were part of like the scene look. You had the hair swoop. You had the like I didn't have tight jeans.
Everybody had a straightener, the mini straightener though.
Everyone had a straightener except for me. I had poker straight hair, but like regardless, it's just like that's what it was. People were straightening their hair. People were like having the real messy haircuts. Everyone was plugging their ears, and it was just like such a, I don't know, for me it was just like an insanely like nostalgic memory that I'll never be able to get rid of. And it's just like all of you guys were in this band and it just progressed from there. And it's so weird to think about that. It's like you were in a metal hardcore band, and it's just like, so what took you from there to like developing your style?
I guess so. Around after like playing in the band, it got to a point to where I could just feel that I wasn't into it anymore.
Yeah.
And it was nothing personal to like anybody else or anything. I just wasn't into it. And it was like a mutual type thing to where the band kind of already had someone to replace me. And they already had like a set plan, and it was just, we had a meeting and I was like, yeah, I'm just not with it anymore. And that was it. And I was, everybody was still cool with that. And I just after that, I got a Mac.
Yeah.
And I went on GarageBand, and I was like, well, let's just play around with something. And I literally found beats online. So I wanted to record myself. So I took these beats and I imported one, and it was called Why She Have to Go. And I literally spelled it HAFTA. And whenever I made it, I had made it in my garage. I went out and I think I spent like $50 on like recording stuff. It wasn't much. So I recorded this and I just sat down and wrote it. And I don't even know if there was really like an influence. I wanted to make something other than what I did from the beginning.
Try your hand at something else.
Yeah. So I had actually played it, and I don't know. I think I wrote it in maybe, I don't know, I spent a day writing it.
I can't even remember, like, because, I mean, like, I was definitely there whenever that happened. But
yeah, I remember you being there for getting the beats. I don't know why, though.
Yeah.
That's the part I don't remember.
But I can't remember, like, what kind of shit were we listening to back then that, like,
well, see,
was
I still
a big
listen
influence?
to, like, some of the, like, you know what I mean? I still listen to, like, all the rap and,
yeah, but, like, there had to be something that was, like, I can't think of like what we were listening to at that time that was also like the rappy, like the rap R&B type. It's just like we had such like a.
I mean, Usher and stuff was big for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usher and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Usher and like, I mean, I ain't afraid to admit it. Like even the boy bands like NSYNC and Backstreet and all them. Like I listened to those. So like for me, that was kind of like. That all stemmed from my childhood that we discussed earlier. Like
yeah, that's a good
all
point.
That music still lived with me.
It's like growing up on hip hop. Like R&B is just like, I mean, like it's a mix between like hip hop and like, I mean, pop music.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that I remember when the band I See Stars came out, and they had like it was the pop stuff, right? So then they implemented like a lot of like the sampling.
That's
and
a
the
good point. Like a lot of them bands that we were listening to were like they had like a high voice, like singing.
That's where it went to. So
that's a good point.
And we wanted to do that, but vocally, I wasn't good enough to do it then. Like that was just straight up. So and I was leaving the band, and I was like, I knew it doesn't work. So I can't be like the lead guy, and it just didn't work. So I was like, I'm just gonna do my own. So I took like that idea of stuff. But then I just put it over beats. Yeah,
that you could do yourself. And not, like you don't have to have a whole band to be able to do that.
No, and if you remember back then, there was always side projects. All them big bands always had side projects that were like rap projects. So you would go find on their MySpace with like 4,000 listens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like who, like I feel like that there's someone that I'm thinking of, but I just can't like name it.
I mean, any of those guys, like, I mean, of those bands, like Johnny Craig did it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like a lot of the main singers that I'm like drawing blanks right now, but there was a lot of, I know they're on my iTunes if I went through them, that were literally like rap stuff.
I know, and it was just like they had like a screaming group, and then like they did like rap on the side, and like I don't know why we can't think of it, but I know for a fact that we were listening to all kinds of shit.
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
it was just like in the style of music that we were in. For me, it was like you'd be like, all right, let's goof around, let's do something complete opposite. So let's make a rap song.
Yeah.
You know, and even too, like I remember like my neighbor that he was making beats, and I like learned how to like make the beats with him. And I remember I wanted to make what was it? Oh, it's The Game and 50 Cent. This Is How We Do. I think that's what, yeah, I think that's what it's called. But that beat, I learned how to make the lead in it on Fruity Loops.
Yeah.
And it was like a buddy of mine in the neighborhood, and I made it, and that's kind of I stepped into beat making for like a summer, and then I remember trying to rap, and I was so bad at it.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of in between. Like that was actually, now that I think of it, prior to all the music stuff. Like I tried it in high school, and it was just like whatever. I did it for like a week, and I was like,
yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone tries it.
Yeah. And then following up to that, like I mean, I took the pop that everything was doing, and it just somehow, like all that writing kind of went into that style music.
Yeah,
and,
like
and
R&B type.
Yeah, and I just put it over a beat, and I remember I took my Mac because I was obsessed with it, so I took it everywhere with me. I remember I was trying to learn how to mix, and GarageBand like kind of had auto tune in a way, like you can make it work. So I was trying to learn how to do it, and I remember I was actually over Zach's. I was laying in his bed. He was like doing something, like getting ready or something. So I was waiting there, and I had played it, and it was playing out loud through the speakers. I remember Zach came in, and he said, which is crazy. You can tell like how long I've been friends with these people. Like it's still like the same friendship.
Exactly.
You know? So I remember he came in, and he's like, "Yo, what is that?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "What are you playing?" I was like, I started messing around with beats and like kind of pop music. He's like, "Wait, man, that's you?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Why?" I was like, "Does this suck?" And then he's like, "Nah, dude. Like that's actually like I don't know." He said good or something. Whatever the lingo was.
Regardless, it's just
regardless, there was feedback.
It wasn't the worst.
No, it wasn't the worst.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was kind of like, maybe like
possibility.
This is the possibility that maybe this is the music I should make. So then from there, I finished it, and then I did like a half-ass mix down, and then I showed them, and
yeah.
I started showing my friends, and they were like, "Oh, this is cool."
What song was this?
It was called "Why She Have to Go." You
We'll
won't find it on the
after.
internet.
Yeah, I know. All your old stuff.
Yeah, so from there, the big track that like I would say that like got me at least noticed, and whatever you want to say, people talk shit, made fun of, whatever.
We all know it.
Was maybe, right? Yeah. So
maybe.
So maybe I had found that beat online, and I literally was sitting on my couch in my basement, and my mom was downstairs. Like I don't remember what she was doing, but I was singing the melody, and we did it, and my mom was like, "Hey, that's pretty catchy," and I didn't record anything yet.
Yeah.
And Why She Have to Go was the only track that I had. So I went into my garage, made this track, and then the studio, which was Studio 344, which was with Brett Samara, we went to, and I was like, "Yo, can I give you?" I don't remember how much money it was. I was like, "I want to record 7 songs."
Yeah.
I was like, "I want to make an EP of like rap and like hip hop." And at the time, I just sang hooks, and then I would rap the verses. That's just how it was.
Yeah.
So I remember I made Maybe, and I was
now you learning how to like do all this. This was all just like from like you got thrown into the wolves. You just kind of started doing it and figured it out along the way.
Yeah, GarageBand was like, I mean, GarageBand's an awesome platform just to like learn on, I think. So like for me, there was a record button, and like all from when I was growing up, like that techie side of like video games and
you always had an
videos.
interest of like learning.
Yeah, so that like interest of technology just kind of graduated to that. And a lot of times I would just Google it, you know, like and see what would come up. So when I started recording, it's like it was whatever, you know. And I even had friends that like wanted to rap, you know what I mean, or just like wanted to do something. I'd be like, "Hey, come over, I'll record you."
Yeah,
there was only a couple, but like it was just practice for me.
Yeah, so, just to be able to like practice it. That's it.
Yeah, so I would just say it was kind of just the eager to learn. So I just learned how to do it, and then that graduated into
because like if you're learning it yourself, like obviously like you know that you're not going to be able to make it as good as like someone who has a studio. So
exactly.
Like you could just practice and like get a feel for it at your house. Like that's usually what we would have done.
That's 100% what it was for. Like,
yeah, it was
that's
just
all.
Like,
that's why I bought so much cheap stuff. One, it was just the money to get it.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't want to put a lot of money. Like I don't really know what I'm doing. Like it was just a weird time.
Yeah, because it would have been like you would have bought all this shit if you could have bought top dollar shit, but you didn't know how to use it.
Exactly. That was like where it came down to, and you know what I mean. And I remember I was working at a car dealership at the time, and it was like I mean, you worked there and all the other ones worked there. And I literally remember having Maybe, and I was like, I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and what's crazy is like I shot photos with like local kids that were friends of mine, and everyone was just starting up. So it was just like, hey, take a photo of me. I want to put it on like for my YouTube thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a YouTube channel, and I remember I put it up and I launched it like in the morning that day. I went to work, and I remember you texting me and saying, what are you going by? And I was like, I'm not sure. And then literally just I was like, well, Mattie, da da da. And I was like, nah, be Mattie. I was like, it just works.
Yeah.
So I just literally posted it and kept it. And I remember like I just opened my YouTube channel and it went to like 1,400 views. And I remember that was the first day at 1,400 views, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like when you don't have anything, it's a decent amount.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad.
So in back, like, and that was, you know what I mean, like MySpace days and stuff. So I posted it, and I remember getting more feedback on like, well, that was Facebook was kind of popular around then too. So it was just starting to circle around, and people were like, oh, holy shit, he's making music, you know? And then like, you know, there was the other side of negativity side, but
obviously people are going to like,
yeah, you know, and
well, you were, I mean, to be fair with it, like out of all of our like friends and in our school district, like who else rapped or anything like that? I don't think anyone.
No, not that I've.
And like you were a pretty well-known kid.
Yeah.
And you were definitely considered popular in high school. So like, I mean, everyone knew who you were, and for you to just like start rapping, it's kind of like, it was kind of like different just because of like how you were. Because I remember the phases that I remember you is like the buzzed head with the grill and the baggy pants and the ice creams, and then you went to being like a preppy type kid with like the Hollister and everything, and then you went to being like back to the skateboarder type kid, and then like the skateboarder kind of developed into like the scene type kid, and you kind of got into like, and then it was just like kind of weird to like see, because like obviously being in high school, like you watch all this shit develop. It's like you see that because you're going to school every day with the same person. It's like you graduate, and it's like the people, if you're not like best friends with them, you're obviously not going to see them.
Yeah.
So like people went from seeing you being like, the last thing they probably seen was like the skateboarder type kid and like the preppy type kid, and to just like being a rapper now. Yeah. After being in like a metal band. Yeah. So like people probably had like a weird thought about it. Yeah. But it's like what did people expect? Like you were just starting out. Yeah. And it's like while we were doing it, I remember both of us sitting there like, this is fucking heat. Yeah. Like you're putting out fucking heat. Like this is sick. Yeah. And it's just like, it's wild to think about that now, because like obviously, I mean, you progressed like an insane amount. Like to go with what your voice sounds like now to what it did sound like, it's night and day. Yeah. But like at that moment, that was like perfection almost. And it was like so much love was poured into that, and it's like, and it like, what was that like to like how did that feel for real to like get, like obviously you got positive side of it all, but what was the negative side like? Like did that how did you keep going through all that?
I mean, there was definitely people that like, you know what I mean, every artist has.
You gotta call it as it is. You got a lot of fucking hate for.
Oh yeah. I mean, 100%. Like it was always like, you know what I mean. If somebody like if it was one of the cute girls from the area that would post it and be like, oh my god, I love this. There was always like that dude that commented like, yeah, like dude, this sucks, da da da. But and like, I just never gave a fuck. Like you know what I mean. You can all. I'm not gonna act like nothing may have like hit me and like kind of made me like, oh, you know, like and knock me a little bit. But at the end of the day, like
not enough to make you quit.
No, I would never quit because of something like that. To me, it was just like it was just petty shit, and it was whatever, you know what I mean. And it would even happen like in person, you know, like if we were always around the same like people, so it would just be like if someone would just say like, oh, he'll go rap about it or like whatever, I was just like, fuck it, like it is what it is, like, you know what I mean. Like to me, I always viewed it as this, like unless you're doing something better than me, then keep like, you know what I mean, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. You know? And it was just like, that's just how it was for me. So I just, you know, I just roll with the punches, I guess you could say. And I was kind of always that way, you know, like, and I think it reflects back to sports and stuff. Like I was always just a tough kid like that of that.
Yeah,
side
just didn't care what people thought.
You know, and it was just, and I was in the time, you know, I mean, being younger, I was little too. So, you know, I was always kind of like the little guy, you know. So when it came to that, like it just, I was really starting to like branch like to what I guess I am now, you know, and there was definitely negativity to it, and some of it, it just never really affected me. I just always continued because if I can't say it really affected me to a crucial point because I wouldn't be doing this interview right now if that was the case.
Yeah, exactly. And like what I was asking Jack is like, it's like, it's interesting because in high school and things like that, as we were saying, if you play football and shit like that, you're considered like a cool kid. Like if you're playing sports, you're a jock. But like if you're in a band or you play an instrument or things like that, it's like you might not be thought of in such like a high regard as someone who's like on the football team.
Yeah.
So like if you're just like in a band or something like that, you might get like looked down upon. But like I mean, that's just like the power of social media. Like us having that platform on MySpace, like you find people that are like yourself.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, that's obviously like how you and Jack linked up.
Yeah.
It's just like he did the same type of thing, and it was just like he like from what he explained, and I mean, like anyone that's listening now will have already heard the first part of this, which is with, I mean, the left side of Waves.
Yeah.
And so, how did you guys link up? Like how do you remember it happening?
Well, it's like, I mean, it's like a perfect like intro to it. So after I dropped Maybe, and I just started my fan page and stuff, and like it looked decent because like Facebook was like, that was popping, like that was the thing. So you know, like I was getting a couple hundred likes, like, you know what I mean, over the weeks, and it was just going up and up and up.
Yeah.
And
You're fortunate enough to know people to also make it look professional. People
Exactly.
that did graphics, people that did that, and that's literally, that's why I bring it up again, because like that's something he said in his. It's like whenever you're starting this shit out in the beginning, it's like if you don't have like a page that looks official and like it doesn't look anything, people just pass you by.
Yeah, they don't, you know. And it was just, I used my resources, and the cool thing is the people that I did all this with in the beginning with the graphics and photos, I still work with today.
Yeah,
and they're just and they've grown so much more to like professional levels that it's just like a childhood friendship.
Because this is fucking what, 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's from artwork to even little ideas that I have, you know what I mean, like that I'd want to implement somehow, you know, like
yeah, I mean, you look how much you progressed in 8-9 years, like, and all those people that were starting like back then, like they progressed just as much, like if they stuck with it. So these people were just like, I mean, like you said, you use your resources.
Yeah, I mean, and really it was, I remember I went on Facebook, and at the time it was just like the computer that was downstairs in the basement that the whole family used, and I was down there, and I got a message from Jack, and I could probably even pull it up if I still had it, but it was it basically was like, yo, I like your sound, something along the lines of that, and we just he's like, let's link up and make a song. So he told me to come to the air. I don't even remember where he was recording at the time, but he was recording somewhere.
I think Eric's.
And
I think that's what he said.
Yeah. It was Eric's. So it was Eric's like dad's computer or something like that. And we kind of bounced it around. Like sometimes it'd be at Jack's parents, or it would be like at Eric's house. It was a majority. But regardless, we showed up, and I didn't really have anything prepared. Like it back then, and we just didn't. I don't know. We didn't email and stuff like that. Like it was just, hey, show up and let's make music.
Yeah.
So I showed up, and then we kind of wrote a song, and then it was called "Somebody Else's Girl," and Jack was like, I want this on like my
heat.
Yeah, it's still a jam.
That's still a good jam.
It's still a jam. So yeah, we made that, and we always just clicked. Like when we made music like that was my first like really collab with somebody. And it clicked. So from there we made it, and then he put it on his tape, and I remember listening to a couple songs he had. I was like, this kid's 16. I was like, his vocals are like, he's all about it. You know what I mean?
Because like, I mean, I say this in the interview with him. It's like, I've definitely been there since the beginning, just because I remember you showing me him.
Yeah.
And I remember like listening, like thinking like, and I remember you telling me like, this kid's 16, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's like he's 16 years old and he's putting out all, like he had so much music already compared to, because like my first experience with like any sort of like rapper R&B is you.
Yeah.
It's like everything, any part of like my knowledge that I have nowadays with like that type of shit is because of like always being around you. So it's like I knew that you had a couple tracks, and I knew that like you being someone that grinded, you had a couple tracks, and I was like, oh, this kid has like a fucking whole playlist full of shit of just good ass stuff. I was like, yeah, obviously like this is gonna be.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of what it ended up happening, was like I showed up, we made the song, and then from there it was just after that, it was we still kind of did our own thing.
Yeah.
And then we would collab on stuff of whatever maybe, you know, we made acoustic versions of some of the
Yeah, like
songs,
help each other out, like work on each other's projects.
Yeah, it was random, and you know, we would just kind of meet up and then work on something. And like after that, it was a track called like "Shorty Like You" that we did, and never released because like something happened with the beat, and then like we never were able to do it. Like there's so many songs that we had back then that we were never released for whatever reason. Like it was just like we just didn't put them out, or I don't know. Like it is what it is. But like we went from there, and then that graduated, so I was like, let's make a project. So like we did a project called a Different Side.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's so good.
So we did that, and the crazy thing about A Different Side that some may not know is whenever we made it on Eric's computer, and we recorded in Jack's like little den in his parents' house. We would go there, and I mean, there was I think 3 nights that me and Jack did like in a row, or even the week we did it from like I went there around 7 and I left at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And we spent all night, and we made.
Oh, how old were you whenever this was going on? Probably like 19.
No, because I didn't really start I didn't start like Be Mattie until I was like 20, like 19. I say like 19,
so this
20.
is probably like 22.
I was about 22 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe even 21. It was in that area, in that range, 23. But
Yeah.
either way, whenever we made it, it ended up, we finished it. And then I remember Eric texting me or calling me. He's like, yo, computer's not starting up. And I was like, what do you mean? And at this time, like I didn't really have like a dabble of like computers to that level. Of,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? And
like
so
you couldn't do anything more than
no, more than that.
you
So I
were.
was like, you have to be kidding. So we ended up losing every single session.
Oh,
All
yeah.
of them. And we had to re-record the entire EP. And we banged it out in like, I don't know, a couple of nights. We just went out and we did them all again, all over. And then we actually ended up, it was kind of like Eric at the time was, he kind of was more on the technical side.
Yeah.
Me and Jack just kind of knew the settings that we wanted. And we just set it all up. And then it was like a collaborative group of like mixing and mastering that. And then, it ended up like we had sent it over to Brett, who I recorded at prior, to like put a polish on it. But other than that, like we dropped it, and that was like when Dat Piff was like a thing. So we dropped it on there, and the crazy thing about that, the thing got like 10 downloads, and I was like, I thought this was heat, but like I guess there's nobody gives a fuck about it. So like, and you know, you got some, you got like things around like Facebook and stuff that people posted, but that was like a solid project that I just feel like in reality it just never got like the looks it should have.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And so
especially for being like that long ago.
Yeah.
It's like that was like the first type of thing around here, I would assume. I mean, like as far as like we would know.
Yeah, that we knew, you know what I mean? Now, and I wasn't exposed to like really the city as much of like in other artists like from all over the city. Like I just, you know, you were still in your local like mindset almost like to that. So I just didn't really have that. I just wasn't branched out to that side yet, you know? So for me, we put that out, and then it was like cool, and then like, but we just didn't like care at the time. Like we just made music, and it was just fun, you know?
Yeah. And like I mean, like you guys had different like, it's like everyone had different like plans and shit like that. You
exactly.
didn't know what the fuck we were all gonna do.
And even like that too. Like when we were doing it, like I had, you know, I still had the support from everybody, even like family wise. But it was funny just because it was like, you know, you still had like, you need a job, you need to do this, like all that type of thing.
Exactly.
So like, you know, and it's like you need to have a career type, and it was always that mentality. And I remember like right around that point in time, I was like, yo, I want to get serious with this. And I went to Guitar Center. If you remember, me and you went there.
Yeah.
And I had no money for this, and I opened like, it was like I think my first credit card or maybe second, and I was like, yeah, I spent like $2,000, and then I got all this equipment, and I went home, and I didn't know what the fuck to do with it. Like I was like, wait, I think this is like GarageBand, but I'm just gonna try. And I was so overwhelmed to the point that I was like, writing became like almost secondary because I had no idea how to even put my ideas into this stuff.
Yeah, you needed how to learn the program.
Yeah, so it was Pro Tools that I bought, and yeah, I mean that was a long process, you know. And at that time,
just like a bunch of long nights of just like.
Yeah, and if you remember
things.
If you remember, like you and everybody, like Damien and everybody would come over, and it was just everyone would go to the club, but I would stay home, and everyone would come to like they would go out, and then I would stay home, and I would just sit there, and I would just like all night like try to figure out this stuff, and then that is like really like when I like went full on, and I noticed that like I was starting to grow more, because at the time it was just so much, and it was just like, oh, what are we doing? Like, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing with this.
Yeah, but like at that time, it's like that's when, like you said, you tell you can grow more because like you were starting like to develop your skills. Like for me being someone who was like sitting on the couch the entire time that all this was happening over these years, like I was able to like see what it was like from going from like what maybe sounded like to like you fucking with like new projects and new types of songs and new styles and new melodies and things like that, and you started to just like progress with that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it was. I mean it really branched from there, because around that time was like when I did my first show. I was at T Mills game, and I remember texting Dill, who was like, if I'd seen the Glory Murder matinee, he was the lead guy, but he still was like, he was like my hype dude when it came to this stuff. Yeah. Because like the band was like still doing its thing, but it was kind of falling out, I guess, for them. So, you know, and like that's kind of what he started branching onto this side. And I remember I was like, I literally, I think I called him or something. I was like, yo, T Mills is coming. I was like, I'll fit the show. Literally, I woke up the next morning and I got an email, and it was Drusky Entertainment, and it was Josh from there, and he was like, "Yo, your music like fits the genre. Would you like to play T Mills?" It's like a no brainer, because I was already going to email it. Yeah. So I took the show. That was
someone like real big that we were listening to.
Yeah, and I took that show. In that show, like that kind of put me on the map for the most part of other people.
Yeah.
And I think like just that whole idea. Like when I remember, you remember what I looked like? I always said I looked like him. You know what I mean? Like I had like the
literally
puffed
identical.
hair, and like had like
identical.
You know what I mean, the big plugs and all that stuff.
The only thing you didn't have was the tattoos.
Yeah, right. So I remember even walking out on stage, the girls literally thought I was T Mills at first, and I was like, no, that's not how this is. Like, you know. And I remember performing, and like the videos they're still somewhere on Facebook, I think, but like. That whole crowd like rocked with it, and that was like and there were so many people like followed from like the metal scenes and just friends that was like my first like real like reaction scene. Besides someone posting, that was like my first thing of like
that wasn't just like a Brigham show. That was just like people like that was like because like any of the other shows that we would like play, it was always just like the same people.
Yeah,
it's like it'd be a house show, it'd be like Octane or some shit or like Battle of the Bands, and it was like the same people that like supported all that, but this was just like you, and you were able to see like how people responded to your music. Yeah,
that was like where it was, and then from there, that's where it gravitated. From that point, is when I really kind of tapped into the more pops stuff, because like I made a track called "Hit Me on My iPhone" right after that, and that was when I really got the raps of how to use like Pro Tools and all this stuff, and that's all I did. Like when I would wake up, if I didn't have work or something, I sat there and I'd go online and I'd go through SoundClick and listen. Oh my god, hundreds of beats. I would just sit there and listen. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. I'd find the ones that have a free download. I put them in there, and I would just write stuff. I mean, there's so many hooks and stuff that were just I never used. I just wanted to create. So that's what I did, and then I created that and then. Really from there, and I put Tolly, who was like a rapper that was like in the city, like at the time, like with that, and I was like, I want to put like a person from the city that like I don't really know, and you know, I mean, I was seeing all these things, and like Mac and Wiz and all them were coming up, and I seen all these dudes, so I was like, well, I'm just gonna reach out to one, you know, and I did the collab with him, and then that kind of reached on to like that pulled like another side of people that like I was like, oh, there's more people that can like know
that could get into it.
Yeah, so there was it was more names, stuff like that, and it was cool because it was just like my first like collab, and like I remember I went to like ID Labs and stuff like that. Like all that was new to me, and it was I just really felt like my levels like in how I was doing things just go up. Yeah,
starting to progress.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then from there, I just you know what I mean. It was at this time, me and Jack still made music back and forth, and then I mean, really from there, then it just grew to what it is today.
Yeah, it's like after that, it's just like those years, it's just like putting out music and like getting better and like lessons and like shit like that. And you went from not being able to sing at all to being pretty good now.
Yeah, I mean, I literally did. I mean, I did take lessons, you know, like I was, a lot of it was just like sing along, self-taught type stuff. Like I was like, oh, I'll just match it, you know?
Yeah, but like it was definitely like taught. Like, I mean, you have to give yourself credit that like, I mean, I wouldn't say that you were like a natural talent at singing.
Yeah,
like
no,
you
I
definitely
agree with that.
fucking grinded
Yeah.
and like worked for it.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, I did like, I don't know. I'd say if you accumulated like all over time, I probably have taken like 3 to 4 years maybe of lessons if you accrue
Yeah.
like over. But it got to a point like it just that was like a huge chunk. Like that stuff's not cheap. So like, and it was tough because
you're investing in yourself.
yeah, and it was tough because like they were expensive, and on top of that, like a lot of things I self-taught was like almost some things were like the wrong way.
Yeah,
you know,
you teach
so I had to
yourself
like
the wrong way to do
literally like
things.
had to break. I was paying to break habits
Yeah.
versus like so. Sometimes that was like discouraging to me because I was like I'm going these places and literally I'm just like telling myself I did everything
Break yourself down to build yourself back up
yeah.
the right way.
And that's and you know, and then it I had like 3 different vocal teachers, and it just grew to a point that I just kept taking them, and then now
Yeah.
it's just like it's just you know, me crafted to what it is today.
So I have to ask you, because I asked Jack, what do you think about, like, obviously the music scene in Pittsburgh, I feel, is more directed towards like rap, hip hop, and trap music.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's necessarily just like because of like the world that I'm in.
Yeah.
But like I feel that there's not really any R&B. There's not really any like pop. I mean, like I'm sure there is. It's just like I don't know about it, but
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of it. So like what do you think the music scene is like in Pittsburgh for someone that's going to be like R&B based, like pop based?
I think it's like there's a lane. Like there's a lane for any style of music in any city there is.
Yeah.
But I mean it is like Pittsburgh's like a nitty-gritty city, you know. It has like it's old, you know what I mean? Like all the sports teams, you can just tell they have that like that grind to them, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that reflects on like a
patina.
lot of the music. Yeah, like, and I think a lot of that like reflects that. But I mean, as far as like R&B and like pop, there's a lane for it, and there are artists out there like that I don't know personally, that
Yeah.
I still don't even know they exist, but there are people that exist in that, and I think it's just a lane that people kind of have to, I feel like, need to open up to.
Yeah.
I think that's
Because
just me.
and like I was explaining to Jack, like we were talking about how like Mac and Wiz, like obviously people think about the city by who becomes famous out of them.
Yeah.
But as far as like music, I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like obviously like Wiz is a rapper, Mac is a rapper.
Yeah.
So like I mean, I think people genuinely like when people hear the words Pittsburgh and music, they think of like Mac Miller, Wiz Khalifa, like those type of people that
Yeah.
I mean like obviously like Daya, or is that her name Daya?
Daya.
Daya.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she is like blowing up now as well,
Yeah.
but like I mean, for years it was just like Mac Miller, Wiz Khalifa, like that was like what was famous about Pittsburgh. So that kind of like put a big spotlight on the whole like hip hop rap scene from like an outsider's perspective, because
Yeah.
like I have no fucking musical background at all, but like just from another outsider's perspective, like I don't see like a lot of like opportunities as far as like shows or things like that for like pop and R&B. So like what is like your next move to try to like break into that and expose it and like put that spotlight more on like your genre?
I mean, it's tough because a lot of like the genre of pop and R&B and stuff, it's a mainstream sound. So when that happens, what it boils down to is like the shows that come through are like really they're already prepackaged, you know. In Pittsburgh, I mean, in a lot of cities like this, there's not a bunch of venues you can kind of just jump on that may have the sound system to handle that, or like it'll really sound good. So a lot of it to get into Stage AE or play at you know what I mean, KeyBank Pavilion, like all those huge places, those are arena acts.
Yeah,
or
you
like
have to be like a big
you have to
name.
be a part of it, or it's just like, yo, there's an opening and they know that, you know.
Yeah, you have to luck out pretty
yeah,
much.
it's
to be able
literally
to
in a
get
way
on
of
there.
lucking out at that, you know. And it's I think it just boils down to like you kind of just have to find a niche for that, whether that may be doing like events or even just collaborating with other people that do events. You just have to get your name out there.
Yeah,
in a
network.
sense. Yeah, I think that's like the lane that we have approached with it. It's just we kind of just took 2 fan bases and 2 friend bases in a sense and just like merged it, and now it's like this is what it is, you know. And it's just really like reaching out. And I think when it comes to like this style music, a lot of times you could say it's more female based. In my opinion, I would say that
100%.
like, yeah, you know, and I would say it's like, that's like the female thing with it. So it's just like, you know, a guy to put his windows down and jam Bieber, I would do it, you would do it, but like some people wouldn't, you know what I mean? Some people see it may not be that way, you know?
I think it's super interesting to hear, I mean, for me, just interviewing both you and Jack, to hear both of your thoughts, because like they're definitely similar, like you have the same mindset about things. It's like I definitely interrupted what you were saying before, but exactly what you're saying. Like you don't see a lot of dudes like putting their windows down and bumping Justin Bieber.
No, I think it's just like a, you know, I mean, just kind of like a.
It's masculine. It's like a masculine tendency. It's like people are like Justin Bieber, and like I've done it. I've said like fuck Justin Bieber, but like you have to boil down to it. Like the dude is definitely talented. Like now that I'm getting older, like I'm not as like petty about dumb shit. Yeah,
that's what I mean. And I think it just boils down to like, you know, you'll easily see a female post like that is like, oh my god, they sing or whatever it may be, or it's catchy, you know, like stuff like that. But I just think a guy is easily gonna drop his windows and bang like some like rap of something because it's just like it matches, like you said, like masculinity, it matches that.
Yeah.
You know, like so you're like, oh yeah, this is it. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's a good point.
That's at least the way I view it. So it's really, I think it's a market that's always been there, and it's in any city you can make it. I just think it's really tapping into it, and I feel we slowly are. And it's I mean, like everyone says, it just takes the one song or whatever it is. I think once it's just kind of has that foundation, then I feel like people would gravitate to it more and kind of do that. It's just, you know, it's just like anything. It's like if that person says it's cool, then it's cool. But not there's the small percentage of people that wants to say it's cool before everybody else.
I agree with that for sure.
You know, like that's the way I look at it.
Once someone that is considered cool like lets the rest of the people know that it's like all right to like this, then everyone starts to like go at it.
Yeah, I mean, watch a Disney movie. Watch a kids movie. Like once they're like, oh yeah, you're cool now because like Mrs. So and so like said it. You know what I mean? Like like that type of that's how it is. I feel like the music industry is almost like you could throw it back to like Mean Girls. Like that's what I feel like it's like. Yeah, like, it's like that's it.
Like you're allowed to like this.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. I just feel like it's kind of like that, and it's when you already, it's harder to tap in and make something new for people if you really wanted to.
So what's the next move for you and Waves?
I mean, as of right now, like people that have followed and it's kind of we're consistently dropping like a song a month is kind of how we're doing it. Yeah. If more we can, and it's just like some of them are like we have a ton of stuff that we recorded because really Waves like really started as two separate artists that we just made music like we always have.
You finally just started.
Yeah, and we just put it together, and a lot of that's like the songs are just year or 2, 3 years.
Yeah, like how long have you guys been recording music together for years? So like
easily like 8 years.
Yeah, like how many songs do you have together? Countless a number, like a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's about time that you guys just like get together and
I mean, even like a lot of the stuff, like even the songs, like people, if you follow from the beginning, you'll see that the newer songs are like some of them are like 3 years old, and we just took like the hook from it, but just sang it way better than what we did before.
Yeah.
So it's just really
everyone's
like
talent progresses.
Consistent dropping music. I mean, we went back and forth, like, yo, we should maybe just drop like 10 songs, and then it was just like, no, because it's new, and it's just like it's already a lane that's not like as we don't know, and it isn't really like known for. So why like try to just throw everything you have? So some of the songs like are just leftovers that we have that we're slowly like dropping out, and we want people to like. Oh, it's like now they're like catching on, like, oh, that's those two. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're a brand new artist and no one knows who you are, and you drop a project that you work your hardest on, no one is there for like I imagine it is like your fan base is like a fucking like a net, and if there's no one there and you throw your fucking project at it, like there's no one there to catch it. Yeah, so it's just gonna fall
like the project's
and
a swish,
get lost.
But like that's it.
Just,
like it
just gets lost, and then like I mean. I'd say the majority of the people that like discover a new band, like not everyone goes back and like listens to their like first shit. No. So like your way of approaching it, like by dropping like a song, because like every song you drop, like someone else is gonna like catch on, and someone else is gonna catch on, and someone else is gonna catch on.
Yeah, because if you listen, they're all different. I mean, I don't want to say different genres, but they're a different vibe.
Yeah.
Like all of them are different in some way.
Yeah.
You know, it's really like, even like when you take like this song that we featured, like my brother, like Ty Matt's on, shout out to Ty Matt's, but like, you know, we put him on, like that is similar to like LFL that we dropped. But we were like, well, we already have a song like that, but now let's put a twist in it. So then we threw Ty on it, you know, and it was in, yeah, I mean, it was just, it was cool. Like that was just a fun song in general because like those things, you know, like, part of that was like old Jack singles versus like new stuff. Like it was just a mixture of like history kind of
pieces together. Well, I'm very excited to see where you guys go with this. I mean, personally, I've seen it from the beginning, so like it's a long time coming. But for anyone else who's like listening who don't know who you are, it's just like it's new to them, and it's so weird for me to like think that because like I've listened to you guys make music for years, so it's just like I don't know. I know that there's like a crazy amount of like potential. It's just like I feel like the move now is just to get some fucking spotlight on your name. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It's just a hard grind for like the last decade. Yeah,
and, it's crazy when you sit and like think.
Yeah, it's cool to see it.
It is.
I mean, like. It's cool to be someone that saw it all progress and to see everyone's talent progress. Like, obviously, Jack has been fucking nasty at music forever since I've known him. Yeah. And, like, he won't say anything about it to give himself a compliment. But, like, the kid seriously is, like, insane at it. Yeah. It's, like, any instrument, like, beats, anything like that. It's just, like... super like he was good back then, but like 10 years later it's like a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it's cool because I watched him grow with that, you know what I mean? Like exactly. I watched him. We could never make beats, we always had to rely on online, so it's cool to like now we do it all. Yeah, you know, so like, it's cool to see that. It's cool to see like how like your shit has progressed because like I said, like that Maybe song, like back then we thought that was just like heat. And it's just like we listen to that now, it's like you took that offline because it's like it wasn't that good. But like it's awesome to still be able to see that because like you could see how far you guys came. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I'm pumped for it. Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm excited to. We have like a ton of stuff ready to drop. Next year should be very very interesting. Yeah, I'm excited for it. As far as your history and how you two got together and how you got into music and a little bit about your childhood, that's pretty much all I have to ask about it. But I do have a segment called Desert Island Questions. And obviously you know what it is, but things that I allow you to take if you were stranded on a desert island. You have 3 choices, and the first category is movies. Now do I got to choose one movie? No, you got 3 choices for this category, which is movies. Oh, that's a tough one. I would say, if we throw it back to like middle school and high school, The Girl Next Door. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's one. Man. That one. Been a minute since I watched that. If we go, I would need something with characters. So if I did characters, I'm going to go... I'm going to go Nightmare Before Christmas, actually. Nightmare Before Christmas. Would have not expected that. Yeah, I mean, you could say like any like those movies I love to watch, but yeah, if I was to say a character one, that would be it because I'm trying to keep it a mixed genre because I don't want it to be boring. Yeah, because I do that. So I would say it'd be like that. I don't know, that or Despicable Me, maybe something like along those lines. Something crazy. I've still never seen it. Something like that. The third one, oh man. We gotta have something funny. I'm going Friday. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, those are good choices. I'm gonna go Friday. Those are good choices for sure. Yeah. So you said Nightmare Before Christmas / Despicable Me. Yeah. Friday. Yep. And then Girl Next Door. Girl Next Door. Yeah, that was a tough one. That's a good spread of movies though. I would be happy with those. Yeah, I would. I know you don't read. No. I got to think of another question to ask people because not too many people read books. I buy books sometimes. I just don't read them.
I buy books, but I just don't read them. Let's say, I don't know, we'll change it up. Let's say video games.
Oh. So, definitely Mario Kart.
Oh, yeah, for 64.
Yeah, 64 Mario
Not
Kart.
that trash for Wii.
No, definitely that. Skate.
Oh, yeah.
100%
I knew
Skate.
it.
And Crash Bandicoot.
Those are
All day.
Those are honestly probably the three that I would pick.
Yeah, that's like easy because that's cake to me. I'm a movie guy, you know that, but like video games, that's cake.
Crash Bandicoot, for sure. Any other game that I would bring besides for that is like GoldenEye. It had to be GoldenEye.
I know I almost said GoldenEye, but then I was like, well,
Mario Kart is definitely better though. And the last one is the hardest question probably for you is 3 musical albums to take.
Dance Gavin Dance, Downtown Battle Mountain.
That's a good one.
All day.
Yeah,
I still listen to that like from start to finish. Like
yeah.
I would
that's
say
the one with like lemon meringue tie and everything.
Oh, yeah, all that. If I'm gonna choose a genres, I would do that. As far as rap album, I would say
J Nick's Everyday New Mix.
If I was to say rap,
no one knows what that is. That's a random ass song that
we found on YouTube.
Mattie found on YouTube, and it's a banger. If you can find it, it's called J Nick's Everyday New Remix.
Yeah, it's like E, and then there's like 8 R's, and then it's like DAY.
If you could find that, I promise you, try to find it on YouTube, and the song is hard as fuck. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll come back to rap. Actually, if I did R&B, it would be a Chris Brown album.
Which one? Honestly, his new one's fire.
Yeah,
not as good as the old ones, though.
No, it's not as good as the old ones. I would say.
You better pick something.
I would do. Honestly, I would say even though his old stuff was good, I do love. I still listen to it a ton because I'm basing this off of right now what I listen to. So I'm gonna go with the newest one of Heartbreak Over Full Moon.
Oh yeah,
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah,
yeah, if I got it right. But
the new Chris Brown.
Yeah, I would because here's the thing: it has like 45 tracks, so like I definitely have time to do that. If we take right now, and the third one, I'm gonna say. You like literally rattled my mind.
I know. Have you never listened to this fucking podcast? You
yeah,
didn't know that I asked these?
I know, but I just didn't. I don't know. I just never thought of. You know what I mean? I just didn't really think of this part. I was more pumped to just do the whole interview. If I'm gonna take it back,
you better fucking pick something.
No, actually, I would do. I would do Usher album.
Which one?
Confessions.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I would do.
So the 3 you pick, you got Confessions, Usher.
Yeah.
You got the newest Chris Brown album.
Yeah.
And you got, what was the first one? Can't even fucking remember because it took too long for you to guess.
Shit.
Dance Gavin Dance.
Yeah, Dance Gavin Dance. Those would be like the things that I currently listen to that I would go with.
All right.
They're not the best choices, but I would go with them.
That's all right. You got to listen to them every day, over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, if I have those video games and stuff, though, I wouldn't really need it, so I don't think it'd be that bad. Yeah.
I was gracious with that. Last question, the most important one, I feel, is if you were able to have a conversation with one person, alive or dead, who would it be?
I'm going to say, because I would want it to be something I pursue now, so it would be like music. I would go with MJ.
Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
That's a good answer. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I would, only because like he's just, I mean,
he's the GOAT.
Yeah, 100%. I just think it would be like interesting from everything from that because he was a childhood star and an adult star.
Yeah, it would be super interesting to talk to Michael Jackson. That's a really good answer.
Yeah, there's a ton of people I would talk to.
That's a real good answer.
That's it, based off of like what I'm doing now. That's what I would choose.
I asked that question because, like, I mean, you get a lot of good answers. Fucking Zach Pishney said Randy Marsh. Like, that's funny. Like, but Michael Jackson's a good answer. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for us.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
I appreciate you coming on. I'm
Yeah,
excited
for sure.
to see all the progress in 2018 for Waves and for all of our friends that are doing shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
we're going to have a lot of them on here, but I'm excited for 2018 for all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on and talking to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Plug all your shit.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you follow Waves. Everything is Instagram, Facebook. It's /official Waves. SoundCloud, it's official Waves music. Make sure you follow us. We'll definitely be posting content monthly. And yeah, let's spread it and get the word out.
I will put all their information in the description below so you can just click and be able to see all their content. I appreciate everyone listening. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, I'll Call You Right Back podcast, Instagram @I'll Call You Right Back, Twitter @ICYRB podcast, or you can email me I'll Call You Right Back @gmail and give me some feedback on the episodes and let me know what you like and what you dislike. Again, appreciate everyone listening and keep coming back because we got some good shit coming up in the next few weeks. And I'll call you right back.